Hi, welcome to Technique of the Week. Today we're going to be forming a circle. We're going to be showing you an easy way to get a perfect circle every time, and it's just a real simple thing we started doing way back in the day, and it really saves a lot of time. You can get a circle formed up and very, very quickly. We're going to be using this cobblestone radius tool on the thing. So I'm going to measure from here. So that's the center. I'm going to measure up here, and I want it to come out on a full block. I don't want a little sliver of these cobblestone radius. So I'm going to measure to one of the joints, and then always subtract about a ½ inch, because if you make it right on, if the circle's off just a little bit, it can end up where the actual stamp doesn't hit it, and then that can look kind of crappy. So I would always give yourself a little play on the outside edge here. This particular one, we're gonna only go to 8 feet on this, but we're also gonna put a border around this circle too. So we're actually gonna, our pivot point's actually gonna be at 9 foot. I want my border to end up basically right where these are. So we're only gonna use the last 2 blocks of this circle. So I'm just gonna measure down here. So I wanna make it 9 foot, or 8 foot 11 and a half. I'm gonna make a mark there. That's gonna be where I drill my hole at. The key to this circle is having your pivot point. So we just put a normal steel pin in the ground, right where we've already established this before I even started digging any of this or anything. We drove this into the ground, so this never changes. Try to drive it as straight as possible. And I've drilled this 1-inch hole, and it slides over a 3/4 inch pin perfectly. And this will end up being our pivot point. What I really like about these forms is these cam locks. They can go in this track. It has a little track here. These are made that you just twist and lock them on there. And what's nice about these is you can put your pins in here, and then you can adjust the height later. You don't have to worry about screwing it or anything like that. So you could get the whole thing formed up, then you can move it, the height of it. This forms go through there, and you pull this, and that locks it into place. So these are a real easy thing to form with. And we usually, for a circle, we want to put these about every 1.5 feet or so, because with the radius, we don't want to get off. I know which way the radius is going to go for the circle, obviously, so I'm just going to kind of pre-bend this a little bit. Starting right here is where there's going to be a step. So this arc that goes around this way, we're going to double stack some of these forms so we can make this a thickened edge to make a step there. To have our liners on here, and I'll show you this in a minute, we're actually going to step this one back to account for the liners for the next one. So we're going to have to drill another hole in that to make this form a little bit wider. This works best with 2 people. It's always good to keep this point a little bit ahead of where you're going to put the stake at. All right, so I'm just going to keep pulling around here, and Dave's just going to pound these. And when he does this, it's important that we try to keep them straight, level, each direction. That way, when we pull it up to our height, if we have it, the pin real crooked, like the one back here, by the time we pull it up, if we have to pull it up, 4 or 5 inches, it could end up being way out of whack at the top. So it's really critical that we keep them straight up and down. These connectors are what connect these two forms together. So it's real simple. They just slide right in there. And then I'm going to skip this area right here for a second and move over to the first lock on this one. And then we'll come back to this. These here are sometimes hard to push where they splice on these circles. We might need to put a kicker in there to push it over far enough to get to the right radius. So it's real easy to see that. Then we'll just bring the board back over here, and we'll push it with a kicker into that, or just angle our stake to make sure that stays right there. So what Dave's gonna do is he's gonna pull this in with as far as he can there, and it's gonna wanna flex back a little bit, so we might need to put a kicker in that later. We don't wanna push it too hard that it moves our pivot point either, so that's usually pretty good. Then we can kind of doctor this up. That looks pretty good. We just maybe need to put just a little kicker in that then. I'm gonna have to make a new hole in the board because I want this next form to be stepped back so I can screw it right to the form. So it needs to go back another 3/4 of an inch. I'm just gonna remeasure that and drill another hole. Another thing I really like about these forms is that when we're doing a step like this, we can double or triple stack these. And it's just as simple as taking one without the locks on it yet, because we already have locks on the other one. And all I'm gonna do is push it up against these other ones. And then Dave's just gonna take and lock the locks on the back of it. So my overall liner length is 7 3/4. So this is gonna be the height, this string's the height of our lower area. So I'm just gonna measure off this string up 7 3/4. Now with these forms, to make sure that you got the kids coming out at night, or somebody, the homeowners, whatever, you leave it overnight and they're tramping around out here and they step on one of these or something like this and it messes your height up. What we always do is on a couple spots around here at least, we take the pins down to flush with the top. That way we know that it's set there. If somebody hits it, we can lift it back up to the top of the pin. So we know that height's right. This is a good habit to get into anyway if you're stamping across here. That way your stamps can go over top of there. So now I know that pin right there is gonna be right at my right height. Thanks for joining us this week for Technique of the Week, and hopefully this tip makes it easier to form some radiuses on circles. And hope you guys enjoyed this, and you guys have a great day. Thanks.